So today in the first module of PDP, we are going to look at the self-awareness part. Self-awareness is a very important aspect of almost all interview. You get a lot of questions based on self-awareness. So what are questions based on self-awareness? So when an interviewer asks you what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, or if when he asks you what are your short-term goals or what are your long-term goals, these are all questions pertaining to self-awareness. How aware are you about yourself as a person, about your future, about your career, about what you've gone through? All these aspects are areas of self-awareness. Now, when we're talking about self-awareness, one of the things which is extremely important while doing preparation is introspection. Why introspection? Because if you look at the past few years of your life, especially the year when you have started realizing who you are, the time when you started wondering, what kind of a person you are, what are your inclinations, what are your interests, what are your future career aspirations. That's a time when you started evolving as a person. That's a time when you started taking steps based on what you have seen across in your society, and that's a time when you have started changing as a person. Why do you sit down and introspect and reflect upon what you have gone through during those periods of your time? You will get a better understanding of you as a person, and hence introspection becomes a very, very key aspect of the entire process of PDP preparation. Now, when I look at introspection and I give guidelines to students talking about what introspection, what kind of introspection you need to do, often students come back to me and tell me that, sir, you told us to do introspection, but then how do I go about doing that? So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you pointers and guidelines to work on in terms of introspection, and for that I'm going to divide the entire stage of my life into 4 different parts. The first part is the high school, where you have started understanding about you, more about you as a person. You started taking those initial steps. You were influenced by various people around, your teachers, probably your parents, or probably somebody else from your family. And slowly you moved on from there to the 11th and the 12th standard, which is another phase of your life, completely different. From there you moved on to graduation, which was again a completely different aspect of your life, and probably for a lot of you out there, work experience, where the entire aspect again changed, where you started taking responsibility, and where you are expected to do a lot more, and you have to keep yourself more self-motivated in terms of achieving your targets. So we will look at each of these stages, take up one stage at a time, and understand what you need to do in that stage, and extrapolate that to the rest of the stages, and then see as what you can build up in terms of preparation for the PDP.
So let me take high school as an example of what we need to really do when we are looking at a particular stage and look at doing a bit of introspection. So one of the things that I would start off when I'm looking at high school is to understand who are my influences, and this would include either my parents, my teachers, it can be a book, it can be a movie, it can be a certain period of my life during that time, it can be some event that I participated, or anything which actually in some way or the other influenced me. Now, why do I say it influenced me? It influenced me because it changed me, or it prompted me for a change. And I really tried hard to probably change myself because of that. Let me give you an example here. So, when I was in 8th standard, one of the biggest influences for me was this person who came to my campus in my school, who was an Air Force pilot, and talked to us about the adventure of flying. Now, this person talked to us about how he felt when he was in a fighter jet and flying. What are the challenges he faced? What was his job all about? And how was his life as a pilot? Now, it was a great influencer for me because after listening to him, I started taking steps towards taking up a career in armed forces. It prompted me in 11th and 12th to take up the NDA examination. It prompted me to go for the SSB interview. So, overall, in some sense or some way or the other, this person had influenced me. It built in a lot of changes in me. I started spending more time on studies because suddenly I felt, if I want to achieve what he had achieved, I would probably have to do my academics pretty well, or I had to do some extracurriculars well. I need to be an outgoing person. So a whole lot of changes happened because of that one person. Similarly, a lot of books, a lot of movies, a lot of other person have also influenced me, and I'm sure there would be a lot of such influences in your life. So what I want you to do is I want to pick up these influencers, put them under the high school, and then try to figure out what kind of changes were prompted by these influences. How did you change? How did this influence make you a different person as compared to what you were before? Influencers are definitely there in everybody's life, and I'm very sure if you have reached the stage that you are in right now, there would have been a lot of influencers, some which you still remember, some whom you have forgotten. Okay, so this is one exercise to go back and pull all that out and put it right out there so that you remember all those influences and it's there right as the top of the mind recall when you want to talk in the interview. Now, another important aspect of introspection is to jot down all the achievements that you have had during this period of time. Now, when I'm talking about achievements, these achievements can be something that got you acknowledgement, like you are the topper of the school, a topper in a subject, or you went out and won a medal in a sports competition, or you could have taken part in some kind of an event where you have been acknowledged and you could receive certificates and medals for that. But it can also be something that you strive really hard to achieve for, and you achieved it because of various kind of characteristics that you showed. To give you a very simple example, one of the achievement that I talk about is when I was in ninth, how I went on for a quiz competition and prepared for it and finally excelled in it and went on to win it. One other thing, if I look at right now in my life, I can say one of my achievement is probably to say that I making myself to get up every day in the morning at 5:30 and put on my running shoe and go out there and run 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers every day. Now, the first part of it, I was acknowledged because I went on to win a quiz competition. In the second part of it, I was not acknowledged by anybody else, but then that is something that I do for myself. I have showcased a lot of willpower in doing that, and I really feel good when I think about it that I've been able to do that every day. So although it may not be a great achievement for other people, for me definitely it is an achievement. It showcases a set of characteristics about me. It tells me what my strengths are, and that's what the achievements do. They let you know what kind of strength did you showcase at that to achieve it. So if I would have gone there and probably topped the school in my 10th standard, I would have showcased some planning capability, some organizing capability. I would have prioritized myself in terms of what subjects to study, what subjects not to study, whether to go out for a cricket tournament or not to go out for a cricket tournament. Making sure that I am rigorously following the schedule, probably looking at and saying, okay, these organizing, planning, prioritizing are my key skills because of which I could achieve that at the end of the year, right? So achievements do let you know what are the kind of characteristics that or strengths that you showcase because of which you could achieve it. Similarly, I would like you to go back and think about some failures or some embarrassments in your life during that period of time. So, are there any such thing that you wanted to achieve? You tried really hard, but you could not, or were there opportunities that which knocked your door and you turned around and said, "I don't want it," or probably there were specific events where you were embarrassed to face people. Now, all these can be considered as failures, and all these can be looked up on as areas of weaknesses. You can pick up and figure out, why did you, what were those traits because of which you failed in that particular endeavor, or what were those areas because of which you felt embarrassed, right? And pick them up and Probably those are your weaknesses that you're going to talk about during that period of time. Now, these achievements and these failures are important to look at, because during that period of time you would have these were the things that you have had as a strength and an advantage for yourself, or a weakness, or something which was pulling you back during that time. Probably that weakness is no more there now, but then during that time it was there and you have successfully overcome it right now. So look back, look behind, and figure these two aspects. Spend some time and figure out, how you have showcased these characteristic traits. Another important aspect of looking at a area, looking at a period, and figuring out what has gone through during what you went through during that period, is also to look at from a point of view of what were your learnings during that time. So what did you learn as a person? How did you change? So you had a lot of achievements, you went through some failures, you identified some weaknesses, you identified certain strengths in yourself, there were influences who pushed you towards a direction, right? And all these put together, when you look back and see, what did you learn out of this entire thing? How did you overall change as a person? And that's a very, very important aspect of introspection, the learning that you have derived out of the entire experience that you had during that time. I wanted to pick all this out, put it there on paper, and I want to do this consistently. I want you to do this for all the other periods as well. So you can look at senior secondary, you can look at probably the graduation, you can look at work experience, and you will see that during all these times you had showcased probably some different set of strengths, some different sets of weaknesses. You would have overcome some weaknesses. There are certain strengths that you have showcased consistently. I want you to pick few of them up and then keep it aside and say, okay, these are my strengths, and I've consistently shown showcase these strengths, and because of which I have so many achievements. And you can pick up the weaknesses. Some of them you would have already overcome, and some of those weaknesses you still have in you, and probably pick it up there and put it and say that, these are the weaknesses that I still possess, and I'm probably going to work through it. So entire introspection should be spaced around these 4 periods, and I would want you to look at least these 4 areas when you're doing your introspection. Now, once you have done this, I would want you to have all these put together on a piece of on your PDP booklet, where you can write down bullet points, essays, pointers, keywords which can help you get back to this again, and without much effort, and make it as your top of the mind recall. I'm going to share with you a PDF file on this shortly, and you can have a look at that and take it as a cue to work on introspection when you're doing that during the next couple of weeks time.